Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Cabrera, and I'm going to be speaking to you about personality-based presentation. This is what it's going to be all about today. We're going to be talking about how you would present to your clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, how to convince them to work with you through understanding what type of personality they are. It's very important for you to understand that when we're working with people, we may have sometimes scenarios where we rub off on them the wrong way. And if you were wondering why, it's because some personalities clash with other personalities. So understanding your own personality is a very important thing to know, and to understand. What is your personality? From the studies that's been out there in psychology, there's generally 4 types of personality, or what they call tendencies. So the reason why I mention tendencies is because we're not always consistent with the way our personalities are. And what we're going to be discussing today are 4 types of personalities, which we all have all 4, but there's more dominant ones than others through the way we were raised or the way we are genetically. So if you're looking at it, if you're born with certain skills, well, the same thing, you're born with a certain type of personality, and that personality adjusts over time through the way your parents take care of you, the way your teachers take care of you or teach you, or your peers influence you. So all these things have a factor in terms of how you grow up to be who you are today. And there's a certain amount of maturity level that you go through. Some people, they mature all the way till the day they die, or they're seniors, they're 60, 70. When I say mature, is a certain way of thinking, stability of the way your mind works. You produce more patience, you produce more humility, you understand more empathy. All those things are signs of maturity in that sense. And you may be adventurous, but yet you have certain cautiousness, or being cautious about certain things that you would do. In the beginning, when you're growing up, you intend to hang out with everybody that you want to hang out with. When you get older, you become more selective of who you want to be around. So, and finding happiness is is a basic premise of what we have around us and how we become who we are today. So what is your personality? Well, the way I broke it down and the way I understood how these color-coded personality types, I kind of tend to remember it this way. When you're an orange, it's dealing with being creative. And I'm going to give you more in detail in a minute how that works. But you're kind of the creative type, or the entrepreneur type, or the type of person that has no boundaries and you're looking for fun, and you're more geared towards the end of living life. And then you have the analytic type, the person that wants everything perfect and logical and makes everything making sense. Then you have the emotional type. The emotional type are the ones that are more empathetic, closer to people. They're like to hear what's going on in other people's lives. If you're this type of person, you're more kind of have that tendency going towards that direction, then that's how you would know what type of what kind of type of person you are in this particular color-coded thing. And then you have the conscientious type. The conscientious type are the ones that are dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, making sure things work the way they need to work, and every single detail is actually covered, following the rules, that kind of scenario, and then makes you more comfortable when everything is in order. So those are the 4 types of personality. We all, like I said, all have that. All of these we all have in ourselves, and the only question is which one is our most dominant. Why do we want to know your dominant type of personality? Well, because we need to understand how we interact with our clients and fellow agents. Why would we want to do that? Well, that's how we can succeed in the business if we know how to interact properly. Because if you interacted awkwardly, people might not like you as much as if you interacted fluidly. So the dominant type of personality that your other person that you're talking to, you're communicating with, is very important to know, because the orange is more complementary to the gold. When I explain that is the orange type person personality tends to be not detailed, but at the same time able to create things that the gold is not able to do. Whereas the gold are very detailed. So those two people working together work much more harmoniously than any other type of personality. So it's very important to know when you're hiring agents to work in your team, or you're hiring agents to work, or hiring assistants to work with you, it's kind of nice to know what type of personality they are, because if you put an orange into a position where they need detail orientation, I will wish you luck how long that person's going to last, or how happy that person's going to be. So the personality types makes a difference in terms of understanding what type of person you're dealing with and what type of work that you would want to assign to them. So in some cases, certain personality work better. Just like I was explaining, let's say if it's a technical work that you're looking for, someone who's more analytic actually will work better in that environment if they're selling very technical things. Now, if you're looking at selling houses or selling like less technical areas of the field, the orange tend to be more successful in that kind of environment. So, and then you have the blues that does very well in real estate as well, mainly because they connect much better with people, and they're able to have more clients through the connections that they have. So, and also when working with mentees, like right now I'm working with mentees, I kind of know what type of personality they are, so I can hone in exactly how I'm going to train them, how I'm going to teach them. It's more customized to how they are as a person, and more customized to how their environment looks like. So instead of having a particular way of doing certain systems and then you apply it to one person to the next person, it doesn't always apply that way. It applies much better when you're training and developing agents in your group or in your team, when you have a team, to understand what type of personality a person is, and then place them in the right position that would foster growth for them and make them more interested in that particular type of work. So when you're looking at the analytical type of person, you would tend to try to put them in a more inventive or more, I would say, technical side of things, and creating systems and processes. That would be something that they would be excellent at. And if you're looking at someone as an orange, you're looking at it from the creativity part, or being able to kind of use their skills to expand your reach in terms of vision and creating how far things going to go. They're tend to be more optimistic and more positive in such a way. So like I said, all of us have this personality types in us. It comes out when we need certain things to do, when it becomes necessary for us to do certain things. But it's always nice to know who you're working with, what type of personality they are. So there's personality tests out there. I have one myself that I use for my agents. You can actually kind of, work off of that and get an idea what direction you want to take your organization to if you're looking to grow your organization. How do you identify each type of personality? Well, it's through observation and also through experience. As now you're aware that there's different types of personalities, and if you understand and exactly what type of personalities they are, and you understand what type of personalities they are, then it would make sense for you to be able to see exactly what type of personality they are. I'll give you an example. If a person you're observing a person and they're going from one person to the next person to the next person, and they're like just laughing their way through the whole room, okay, more than likely that person is an orange. And if you see a person that's actually a little bit more introvert, but they're attracting more people around them, as an agent and as an individual that knows a lot of things, more than likely that's more of an analytical person. Now, this is more generalized. Like I said, people have tendencies, so you cannot, in one observation, you will know exactly who that person is. Of course, it's a series of observation over time. You'll get to know the person even closer. But like I said, that's what the tests are for, if you're able to give a personality test. But unfortunately, when you're sitting down with a seller and you're trying to get that listing, you don't have that luxury of being able to be able to sit with them multiple times right away and know their personality. So you're just gonna need to actually observe their home, how they're keeping their home, observe how the husband or the wife or the spouse actually work, in terms of how they interact. Then you will kind of get an idea what personality types they are. Now, if you're seeing someone more talking to somebody and they're getting really intimate about the conversation and kind of, touchy-feely type conversation, more than likely that's a blue personality. And then for the gold, I can tell you one thing. It's not, put it this way, about 60% of the population are gold. It's just the way, I guess, things are. But pretty much when you're observing somebody who's a gold, they tend to want to know the details of everything and making sure that they have all the information before they make any kind of decision. So understand something, when you're sitting down with your clients, knowing this personality type makes a huge difference what type of presentation you're going to give. Why do you want to identify your client's personality type? So you can customize the presentation or the communication that you would use to maximize your influence with your client. I'll give you an example. I went to a listing appointment not too long ago, and I had like the owner, a husband and wife, happened to be interviewing 6 agents to try to list their property. 6 agents. So I'm one of the 6 agents, and I'm not even the last agent. But the biggest difference is when I came into that room, the first thing I was thinking about is, what type of personality am I dealing with? Well, I started asking questions. That's one way to actually figure out what type of person people are. So start asking questions. What are you looking to do? What's your objective? And the husband says, well, let me show you. This is my plan. I have this plan all written out, and I have all this series of questions. So now I'm thinking, okay, either he's an analytical type of person or more of a detail-oriented, conscientious type person. So that's the first thing I thought about, because he wasn't really much concerned about how I'm doing or how his wife is doing. But then the wife, on the other hand, was more kind of asking me like, yeah, you have children, started talking about, about their grandkids and stuff like that. And I started asking questions more as I figured out she was actually a blue. So, but I couldn't figure out the husband yet, what type of personality he had for me to actually create the presentation the way I would want it. So put it this way, I adjust my presentation. Even though I have the same presentation, I adjust the presentation whether I'm going to be very detailed on the presentation or focus more on the numbers on the presentation, or I'm going to focus more on the details on the presentation, or I'm not even going to do the presentation at all. Most of the people that I meet that are orange, I don't even bother putting out my presentation package because I'm bored them to death. So what I do with those orange people is go around the room and actually have them explain to me what's exciting about the property, because they're more fun, all about fun and excitement, and trying to actually get them riled up about it and get them excited about selling a home, getting them excited about creating, what they're going to be doing in the future. So looking at it from the orange perspective, I don't even do my presentation at all. I hardly do. I will actually set it aside and focus on that person and give more attention to what makes it more interesting, the conversation. So I couldn't figure out the person if he was a gold or a green. So the way I was able to do that, I was able to figure out which one he was, is the way he explained to me what he wanted to do. And everything fell on the numbers. And I'm talking about, I want my house to be this price because I gone through this process of eliminating this house and looking at this house and start comparing, doing all this comparison with the houses, and this is the number, and I'm looking actually to net this amount of money. I've looked it up here and I've done this. So he was doing all this research. So I came to realize he was more a green, because he wanted, and he was talking about the logic behind why certain things, we would be doing certain things on the property to make sure that the property sells. So those kind of giveaways gave me an idea that he was a green. So what I had to do is, when I pulled out my presentation, I actually focused on the numbers. And I focused on the numbers. I focused on what's logical, why their house is going to sell a certain way, why a person would think that the house is actually a good place to move to, what type of people are actually, what families or who individuals or whatever, why they would be attracted to the home, the number of bedrooms, amount of baths, that kind of stuff, and how we would actually convince them to actually, so we can get multiple offers. Well, that in mind, it makes a difference. Now I have another client. So when I presented that, of course, out of the 6 people that I was competing with, I ended up getting the listing. That's the bottom line, mainly because I got the wife all riled up about the stories I told about family and all the lovey-dovey stuff that I was explaining to her about my life and asking her about her life. And, we connected that way. And with the husband, actually, with all the numbers and the logic that I put into the presentation, he really enjoyed it and loved it. And the fact that he learned something that he didn't know before made a big difference for me to pick up that listing. Now, I have another client. In this person actually lived by herself, and she wanted to sell her home and move closer to the city where she works at. So she wanted me to list the property. So I came there, and I know the type of person she is because I've worked with her before. I was the one who sold her the house, and I know she's a blue. So I never even took out my presentation. All we were talking about is how the kids are doing, how her kids are doing, and we were talking about like the past and all these things that happened in the past. What memories she had with her husband. Unfortunately, her husband already passed away. So she was telling me like how beautiful their relationship was, and how I should take care of my relationship. So that's what the whole conversation, that was the listing presentation for you. Okay. So looking at it from that connection, everything else fell into place. She asked me what I'm looking to charge, what the listing price. I mean, it was just direct. I told him exactly, and then we moved on. We never even talked about it anymore. She never asked anything more. She didn't actually try to haggle about it, mainly because there's a certain amount of trust built up, but it's through the connection that we have emotionally. So you could actually literally pick up a listing and not have a presentation done. I know you want to standardize everything as much as possible, which is great, because then the one person can pick up from the next person. But you can standardize certain things in your business, but the people cannot, unfortunately, fall on the same category each time. So there's a better connection if you understand the type of person you're dealing with.